The silver cutlery trembled against crystal plates as the millionaire CEO's son sat frozen at the long dining table, his small shoulders shaking while tears slipped silently onto the untouched food. And in that moment of wealth, power, and polished perfection, something painfully human cracked wide open inside that grand glass-walled penthouse. The city lights below glittered like a promise that had failed to keep its word, and the boy's quiet breakdown became the one thing money could not silence. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that come from unexpected places, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel KH Stories. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them most. The boy had everything a child could want on paper: private tutors, designer clothes, and a future mapped out in boardrooms and headlines. Yet none of it could fill the hollow space left by his mother's absence. She had passed away years earlier, and grief had settled into the household like dust on unused furniture. His father, a self-made CEO known for ruthless deals and relentless schedules, loved his son deeply but expressed it through provision rather than presence. Dinners were formal, conversations were brief, and emotions were politely ignored, as if acknowledging pain might disrupt the order he had worked so hard to maintain. That night, however, something different stirred, because grief does not obey schedules and loneliness does not recognize wealth. Earlier that day, a charity initiative had brought a group of children from a local shelter into the company's foundation building. It was a routine corporate gesture, photographed and polished, until one little girl changed everything. She was small for her age, with observant eyes that carried a softness shaped by hardship rather than innocence. She noticed the CEO's son standing apart from the others, polite but distant, smiling without warmth. She noticed how he watched families instead of games, how he flinched at laughter that reminded him of something he had lost. While others admired the building's grandeur, she seemed to understand that sadness wears many disguises. That evening, the invitation extended beyond the foundation and into the CEO's home, a decision made on impulse and public goodwill. The children were meant to be dazzled by luxury, yet the true moment unfolded quietly at the dinner table. The CEO's son, overwhelmed by a day of forced smiles and unfamiliar faces, finally let his guard fall. Tears came without warning, not loud enough to cause a scene but deep enough to expose years of silent longing. The adults froze, unsure how to respond to a pain they could not solve with words or wealth. It was then that the little girl leaned closer, her presence gentle and unassuming, and shared a simple truth shaped by her own life of loss, explaining in her own way that what he needed was not more things, but someone beside him, someone to share the quiet spaces with, someone who felt like family rather than obligation. Her words did not echo loudly, yet they landed with the force of revelation. The CEO, watching from across the table, felt something shift inside him. He saw his son not as an heir or a responsibility, but as a child aching for connection. He saw the little girl not as a charity case, but as a mirror reflecting everything his household lacked. In that instant, the carefully controlled walls he had built around his emotions began to crumble. He remembered his own childhood, marked by struggle but rich in companionship, and realized that in chasing success, he had unknowingly recreated a different kind of poverty for his son. Over the following weeks, life changed in ways no business plan could predict. The little girl returned often, at first through official channels and later through genuine invitation. She brought laughter that felt unforced and warmth that did not require explanation. The CEO's son slowly emerged from his shell, learning how to share toys, stories, and eventually feelings he had buried too deep for a child his age. The house that once echoed with silence began to feel lived in, imperfect, and real. Meals became conversations rather than rituals, and the CEO found himself coming home earlier, choosing bedtime stories over late-night emails. The greatest challenge was not public perception or legal logistics, but emotional courage. Opening one's life to another human being means risking pain, and the CEO had spent years avoiding that risk. Yet watching his son heal made every fear worth facing. The little girl, who had known abandonment and loss, found stability and belonging, while the boy who had known abundance without affection discovered what it meant to be truly seen. Together, they formed a bond that did not erase their pasts but softened their edges. As time passed, the transformation extended beyond the walls of the penthouse. The CEO's leadership style evolved, guided by empathy rather than ego. His company culture shifted, reflecting values of compassion and balance. Employees noticed the change, and so did the world watching from afar. What began as a quiet moment at a dinner table became a ripple that touched countless lives, proving that healing often starts in the smallest, most unexpected ways. Near the end of this story, if it has touched your heart or reminded you of the power of simple human connection, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video. Your interaction helps keep meaningful stories alive and reaching those who may need them today. And before this story closes, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or tell us about a moment when kindness changed a life, yours or someone else. In the end, the millionaire CEO learned that success is not measured by stock prices or headlines, but by the quiet joy of seeing his child smile again, and the realization that sometimes all a broken heart needs is not fixing, but family, found in the most unexpected whisper of hope.